You slept 8 hours last night. You checked. You were proud of it. And yet, by 10 in the morning, you were reaching for a second coffee, staring at an email you'd read 3 times without absorbing a word of it. Something was off. Not tired exactly, just misaligned. Here is the uncomfortable truth about the number you've been chasing. 8 hours is not a target. It is a container. What happens inside that container determines almost everything you actually feel the next day, and most of what determines it has nothing to do with duration at all. You have been told, correctly, that sleep duration matters. Chronic short sleep is linked to impaired glucose regulation, weakened immune function, and measurable cognitive decline. That part of the advice is not wrong. It is just incomplete. It is half an instruction dressed up as the whole thing. The other half is timing, and almost no one talks about it. Charles Czeisler at Harvard Medical School has spent much of his career studying what happens when sleep duration stays fixed, but sleep timing shifts. His research on shift workers is telling. People who slept a full 8 hours during the day, disconnected from their circadian rhythm, still showed impaired alertness and metabolic disruption comparable to people who were simply sleep deprived. The hours were there. The alignment was not. Your body does not experience sleep as a block of time to be filled. It experiences sleep as a sequence of biological events that need to happen in a specific order, at specific internal times, governed by a clock that has very little interest in your calendar. That clock lives in a cluster of roughly 20,000 neurons in your hypothalamus called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. Think of it as the conductor of an orchestra with trillions of members, each cell in your body running its own semi-independent rhythm, all of them needing the conductor to keep them synchronized. The suprachiasmatic nucleus sets your internal night and your internal day, and your actual sleep architecture, the way you move through light and deep and REM stages across the night, only works properly when it is time to match that internal night. This is where the 8-hour number quietly falls apart. Sleep is not uniform. In the first half of the night, you spend more time in deep, slow-wave sleep. This is when growth hormone is released, when physical repair happens, when your glymphatic system flushes metabolic waste from your brain. In the second half of the night, the balance shifts. REM sleep dominates. This is when memory consolidation happens, when emotional processing occurs, when the brain does the quiet work of making sense of what the day just handed it. If you go to bed at 11 and wake at 7, you get a full architecture. Slow-wave sleep early, REM sleep late, each phase happening when your internal clock expects it. If you go to bed at 2 in the morning and sleep until 10 to hit the same 8 hours, the architecture compresses and distorts. Your body still tries to deliver slow-wave sleep early in your sleep period, and REM late in it. But your internal clock, tied to light exposure and your suprachiasmatic nucleus, is now expecting you to already be waking up during a window your body is instead trying to still deliver deep repair in. The two systems are arguing with each other. You wake up with the right number attached to a night that never actually matched your biology. Sachin Panda at the Salk Institute for Biological Studies has done extensive work on this exact mismatch, which researchers call social jet lag. It is the gap between your body's internal schedule and the schedule your life actually imposes on you. Panda's research suggests that even a 2 to 3 hour shift in sleep timing, independent of duration, is associated with worse metabolic markers, mood regulation, and cognitive performance. Not because you slept less, because you slept at the wrong internal time. So the habit you've built, tracking your hours, and feeling satisfied when the number is right, is not wrong to care about. You were right to notice that duration matters. That instinct was correct. What you were missing is that duration is a necessary condition, not a sufficient one. Two people can log identical 8-hour nights and walk into their Tuesday with completely different biological readiness, because one of them slept in alignment with their internal clock, and the other fought it the entire night. There is a second layer to this, and it is even less intuitive. Consistency matters as much as timing itself. Russell Foster at the University of Oxford has described the circadian system as something that needs regular, repeated cues to stay calibrated. Your suprachiasmatic nucleus takes its primary timing signal from light hitting specialized photoreceptors in your retina called intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells. These cells are not for seeing. They exist purely to tell your brain what time it is. when your wake time varies by 2 hours from one day to the next. Even while your total sleep stays constant, you are sending your master clock a conflicting signal every single morning. It cannot lock into a stable rhythm if the input keeps moving. This is why the person who sleeps 7.5 hours every night at the same time often outperforms the person who sleeps 8 hours on an irregular schedule. Not because 7.5 is a magic number, because consistency lets every downstream system, cortisol release, core body temperature, melatonin onset, lock into a predictable rhythm that your entire physiology can build on. Think about how a wine is judged. 2 bottles from the same vineyard, same grape, same year, poured at the correct temperature and given time to breathe, will taste like what they were meant to be. Serve one of them ice-cold straight from a delivery truck, and the same wine, the same 8 hours if you like, will taste flat and wrong. The content was identical. The conditions were not. Your sleep works the same way. The number on the label tells you very little about what actually arrived in the glass. So what does this mean for tomorrow? Practically, without needing to reorganize your entire life around it. Here is the shift. Rather than optimizing purely for duration, anchor your wake time first. Pick one wake time and hold it within a 30-minute window, 7 days a week, including weekends. Your circadian system responds far more strongly to a consistent wake anchor than to a consistent bedtime, because your first light exposure of the day is the strongest signal your suprachiasmatic nucleus receives. Once that anchor is fixed, your bedtime will naturally start to find its own consistency, because your body will get sleepy at a more predictable hour once its clock is properly set. Tomorrow morning, when your alarm goes off at your chosen time, get outside within the first 30 minutes of waking, even for 5 minutes, even in cloud cover. Natural light at that hour does more to correct a misaligned clock than anything you can do the night before. You slept 8 hours last night. That was never really the question. The question was whether those 8 hours arrived at the time your biology was expecting them, in an order it could actually use. Get that part right, consistently, and the number stops being something you have to chase. It becomes something your body arrives at on its own. If you want a structured way to build that consistency without guessing at the details, the 15-minute sleep shift walks through exactly how to anchor your rhythm in 3 short steps each evening. You can find it at 15minutesleepshift.com. What part of your daily rhythm do you most want to bring into alignment? Tell me below.